Welcome back everybody to another one of my time-lapse model builds. This one is going to be slightly different than what you're used to seeing. And this, ow, hit that in my face. This is what I'm building. This is the 1/48 scale Revell B-24D, and I'm finishing this as a Coastal Command in British markings. Now, why this is different is because I'm actually building this model on a live stream. So I'm doing this live on YouTube approximately once every month or once every 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm doing a live video where people can watch me build this. But there's going to be stuff I do offline. I can't do the entire build on video. I don't have an airbrush set up here, so I can't paint at the desk. Not yet. That is something I want to work on for down the road so that I am able to do live streaming of the painting process, but I haven't got there yet. So this video is going to be all the background of the build that you don't see on the live streams. So this is just going to be part one. This is all the background work from bare plastic up to primer, the building process, especially there's going to be a lot of, I plan to do some scratch building, some detailing work, plus I have a lot of resin conversions I need to put into this thing for both the anti-submarine radars and whatnot, as well as the rocket launchers on the nose. So all of what I couldn't do online in this live stream will be in this time-lapse video. So I will try to make a point of mentioning when each live stream episode fits in. So if you do want to jump to the live stream and watch those in the proper order, you can. Otherwise, enjoy. We're going to get this done. So let's jump into it. My name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. So right off the bat, I just want to explain here, the starting of this kit has already been started. It was started on a live stream. So what you're seeing is me just working on the cockpit parts that I had already cleaned up and off the sprues on the live stream. Now, just to go into details on the live streams, this video will be a little bit different because it is the time-lapse build of everything I did that was not on the live stream. I'll put a link up above to episode 1 of the live stream, and down below in the description I'll have a link to every single part of the live stream, and I will mention with the voiceover here when each live stream part happened in the video. So you get to a point where it looks like there's a jump cut, and that's because there was a live stream, and I'll mention what live stream episode happened at that point. So I'm just going ahead, I'm prepping all of the interior parts and getting ready to paint. As usual with an aircraft kit, I start with the cockpit and the interior, and here we go. So if you haven't watched the live stream and you're not too sure what's going on here, the big part of what I'm doing is doing some scratch building in the bomb bay. I'm making it look a little bit more busy and a little bit more accurate. This is a late 70s, early 80s monogram boxing, so a lot of this interior structure was missing. It was just kind of a big open space from the up into the top of the fuselage. The real aircraft had a lot of structure going on the bomb bay, and there was a roof to it that existed just below the wing. So I'm going ahead and adding on that detail. I've cut a piece of plastic roughly to fit the shape of the fuselage, where it will be glued to the bottom of the wings, or the little bump outs that the wings mount into. But anyways, it's glued into there to act as the roof. Not perfectly accurate, but enough that it gets the point across. And I'm adding a lot of the missing structure, especially in that center kind of frame that sticks down between the two bomb bay doors. So I'm building all that up with some plastic card, just making it, like I said, making it look busy. When you look up in the bomb bay, it's not just a big hollow opening. There's something going on in there, and it looks a little bit more accurate, but that's kind of what I'm going through right now. And this is where my live stream part 2 took place. So here you'll see I start the painting process. It starts with painting the aluminum inside the bomb bay. And then from there, I'll start masking off and painting the greens, the darker green up front, and then the interior green that's in the rear fuselage. I get all that done, and then I'll move on to the weathering stages, go through and finish off the weathering. You'll also see I do the weathering in a bit of a staggered process. That's just for the TV magic of the live stream, so that you can see one side fully weathered and one side not weathered at all, just to see the highlights of why we do the weathering and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a weird progress, but it'll all make sense if you do watch the live streams. And this is where the live stream episode 3 happened. And this was where the live stream episode 4 took place. Here you'll see as I get the weathering and everything done in the fuselage, I'm getting all those little bits and pieces all cleaned up and ready to go to get the interior done. Again, a lot of my building is built in a process that allows the live streams to work. So I get everything prepped. I do the live stream to do what I want to do live, and then I'll spend time afterwards to clean it all up. So again, the order might not look perfectly accurate for what a normal build sequence will look like, but it makes sense for me to do my live streams. So like I said, here I'm just getting the last of those interior parts ready so that I'm able to assemble the fuselage and glue it together on a live stream. And this was episode 5 of the live stream, was at this point. And here you'll see there after that next live stream, I have the fuselage glued together and the wings are glued together. So now I go through the process of finishing that up, working around the seams, doing all the liquid glue, getting everything glued in properly, making sure everything lines up properly, try to minimize steps in between the different halves, getting the other wing glued together. And then I go ahead and I actually start the sanding process to clean up those seams a little bit and get ready to start doing some putty and prepping for primer. And here was where episode 6 of the live stream took place. the one thing I do want to note here, these engine nacelles took a lot of work. There were some really bad steps on the sides of the sides of the nacelles, just partially due to the age of the kit. Physically, the age of the kit. This is an older molding, an older kit. It's not relatively new, so it's had time to sit in a box and warp. Plus, it's just an old monogram molding, and so it doesn't have the modern kind of seams that we're used to. So the nacelles definitely had issues with seams on the sides, steps, really bad steps. So it took quite a bit of effort to sand them down, clean them up. And once I have all that done, you'll see I start, I've already have the engines glued in. I already have the front of the cowlings glued on. Well, the engines have to be glued in to glue the fuselage, the wing halves together. But now that all of that's done, you'll see I start prepping and masking off the front of the engine faces in order to prime the wings and not ruin the insides of the engine themselves. But also of note, it's not a perfect shape. Like the sides of the cowlings should be open into the oil coolers, whereas on this kit, they're just kind of blanked off because, again, it's an older monogram boxing. So, but you'll see here, I start prepping the wings for primer. Also, just a quick note, I've had issues with the Vallejo primer peeling. So here you'll see where I actually use an alcohol wipe, and I wipe the surface with alcohol, trying to clean up any oil or any residue off the wings, trying to get a little bit better adhesion. I think it worked. I didn't have any issues while I was masking and painting the one wing. So I think it worked well, but that was just something I've got to get better at cleaning that up. I've had so many issues with Vallejo primer lifting, and I think it's due to oils and residue on the plastic as I'm painting. So I'm going to try to remember to do this more often and prep with alcohol before I start painting. So here you'll see I start gluing that chin radome in place on the nose. I did run into some issues where I cut the clear plastic back a little too far. It's really hard to get all of that lined up properly while you're holding it, and I cut the plastic piece back a little bit too far. And in order to correct that, I had to use some plastic card to create kind of steps, shimming on that nose radome in order to close that gap back up. But I got it done, cleaned it all up. Once it's done, and you can see where I've actually painted the top of that radome in a green color, just so from the inside, when you look down, you don't just see gray resin or white styrene. You'll actually have the interior green color showing through. Then I get it glued on. I go ahead, I clean up the seams, fill it with some putty, some super glue, all that fun stuff to get a nice tight bond, and fill up all of the seams and the holes and the cracks. Get all that prepped and ready to go because, yeah, you got to get that done before you can mask the nose, which you got to do before you can start painting. This is where episode 7 of my live stream took place. Now, I'm at a point where I felt like it's worth talking about what I'm about to do, and I have to glue on these little stub wings. So these are the little rocket wings. I'm just trying to figure out which side works best for which side. They are pretty rough in terms of what you get. They aren't the best castings. It's kind of a garage kit that did these, a garage company. Now, because it's a resin aftermarket, there's also no reference on the kit itself as to where these are supposed to go. So luckily, I have the wing leader book, which is a huge help in this, and there's a nice side profile here. It includes the rocket pods and also shows where the little struts are supposed to go. Now, the struts that we get are 4 of basically the same length, but as you can see with this reference, one is shorter than the other. So I'm gonna have to play with these a little bit and kind of make them work. But what I gotta do now is figure out where these sit on the airframe. And from what it looks like they're more or less in line with the top of this bomb bay. So it looks like they should be about, but see, these are not even close to the right size. These are significantly larger. Yeah, these are significantly larger than what I'm seeing. I'm gonna have to do some modification to these. Just looking at the size on here, this fairing at the back is significantly larger than the actual fairing. If you compare that to, you can see the wing doesn't look too bad. The angle's not nearly as angly as it needs to be. These were really rough looking pieces, to be honest. But yeah, you can see that they sit This is a tough one. Definitely a tough one. The other issue is, depending on how these sit on the fuselage, your wings aren't going to be square. They're going to be sitting yeah, these are not, this is not easy. I mean, it almost looks like I need to just glue these to the side of the fuselage without using those little fairings, because perfectly honest, there isn't much fairing at all where these meet the fuselage. At all. Anyways, yeah, I'm really gonna have to play around with this. I don't know. I honestly don't know how this is gonna work. I honestly might just glue these. They need a significantly deeper curve. I might just have to modify these resin pieces a lot to make this fit, because I need to sand this back half back a ton to make it fit the curve of the fuselage. So I'm just gonna have to start modifying these. So let's get into it. I'm gonna start sanding and cutting and modifying, and we're gonna make these fit as best we can. So keep watching. So you'll see I continue fighting with these little stub wings and the blending, the fairings where it meets the fuselage. A lot of work to get them to fit properly, a lot of work to get them all puttied and blended properly and cleaned up. They're not perfect. You'll also see where once I start getting things going and I get the wings are installed and I mount the propellers actually impacted the wings. The wings were they're too wide and they're too long. So they're wrong in both directions. I left the width, the front to back width, the chord of the wing, so to speak. I didn't modify that because to modify that would involve modifying the wing to body fairing, which was just so much work. I didn't even want to go down that road. I did adjust the length of the wings, how far out, the span of the wings. I cut them down to better match the propeller arc so that at scale, the propellers can spin and they don't impact the little wings. But they're not perfect. Part of the problem also you'll notice I drill some holes and I pin them so that I have it's not just a butt joint. There's actual pins that go into the fuselage, hold those wings in place. That also allowed me to play around with this process so that they can somewhat hold themselves in place. Part of the problem I ran into though is I think once I got those wing to body fairings done, because of the curve of the fuselage, when I glued the wings on, there's a slight forward angle to them. They almost look forward swept slightly. It's too much work to go back and change everything, so I'm just going to live with it. It's not 100% perfect. I'm happy with it. And that at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And here you'll see I start masking the main canopy. I already got the nose masked. I'd started that on the live stream. I end up getting all the fuselage done, masked up. I'm getting here, obviously, the main canopy masked up. I got to get all this done and everything glued on before I can start priming. And then obviously that's a big step in getting to the next point. So that's kind of was my focus at this point. After I got those front wings installed, it was just prepping the fuselage to get to the stage of primer, because that starts getting obviously to the next, checking seams, cleaning up more seams, prepping for paint. So I got to get that primer down. So it was just a big push to get prepped for primer. So you'll see here, as I'm prepping the bomb bays with masking tape, I didn't mask the bomb bays off completely. I left the main areas open, and I just kind of selectively masked off with some cardboard as I was priming and painting just makes it a little bit easier and less chance of breaking anything inside the bomb bay there. But it was a little bit more extra work, but it saved the work on the back end. And then once that's done, you'll see I actually get the fuselage primed, and then I realized partway through, as I was literally in the booth priming the fuselage, that I hadn't glued the tail on, and I couldn't finish that until I got the tail glued on and got all of those seams cleaned up. So you'll see that happens next, as well as some seams on the bottom of the fuselage. And then from there, once that's cleaned up, then I go ahead and get the whole fuselage covered in a coat of primer. As well, I realized what I required for the live stream was some of the depth charges, and I hadn't even started working on the depth charges yet, also the tail turret. So I start getting all that prepped because, again, part of my build sequence isn't necessarily what's the best for the model, it's what's best for the live stream. So all the depth charges need to be cleaned up. The tail turret pieces need to start being cleaned up. The tail turret was an absolute pain in the rear end. I'll go into some more details on that later on, but you'll see also part of the process for those depth charges is wood grain. And if you've seen my World War I builds, you would have seen me attempt wood grain for the first time. I did it on the World War I aircraft because the wood grain is hidden down inside the cockpit, and if I screwed it up, you wouldn't have noticed. The reason why was because I needed the wood grain on these depth charges, and these are going to be very visible in the bomb bay while they're sitting on the ground, so I needed to make sure they looked good. So I practiced on the World War I planes, and I screwed up, no harm, no foul, and I made sure what I did on these looked really good. So that's kind of the prep, and again, you'll see me do one with wood grain, and then the other one I do the wood grain on the live stream build. So again, jumping back and forth between the two for the content. was where episode 8 of the live stream took place, which is also the last live stream you'll see in this first half of my time-lapse build. So here we are, a good natural break on this kit. We'll wrap up part 1. Finally, I'm on to part 2 of this. This has been like a year in the making, so I'm kind of glad to get to this point. So this is how it looks. It's assembled, it's primed. I've got all the seams to a point where I'm happy. I don't have all of them filled, but I mean, being a World War II plane, it wasn't perfect. So I'm not going to worry too much about making it perfect. Back here, all of these seams were all cleaned up properly, and it is ready to go. So the next step on this is painting the white. I believe the last time I double checked on the instructions, the scheme I'm doing is the later scheme, I believe. BZ792. So yeah, that the bottom one is what I'm doing, and I'm doing a later scheme, which means the gray is actually slightly higher up the fuselage sides. You can see here, the white comes a little higher. So when I paint the white, I'll probably end up using that panel line right there as my reference. It lines up quite nicely. I'll probably just tape along that line and continue it all the way back, and it's pretty much, I can't really tell, but I'm going to assume it's pretty much in line with this horizontal stab. So I'll probably just mask a straight line from here to here, and the top will be camo. It's a two-tone gray. But you can see the tops of the horizontal stab, but the inside of the tails are white, outsides, and then the entire belly is white. And then this will be fun because I'm going to have to mask this off, and the top of this gets painted a gray color from the top of the fuselage, whereas the rest of around it is white. So that's going to take a little bit of masking at the end, but pretty much ready to go with white paint. I still have to play around down here when I'm painting, take my time and make sure that the masking is proper and that I get a good coverage of white. I might have to touch up the aluminum with a brush again after the fact. We'll see how that goes, but everything should be ready to go. Yeah, I did. Full disclosure, I jumped ahead a little bit. If you've seen the DR1 video, you would have seen I jumped ahead and painted the white on that before I did a wrap-up video. Same thing kind of happened here because I have the lower wings already painted white. Wasn't thinking about the editing of this video when I started, but you can see the bottom's painted. It's not perfect coverage. I want a little bit of a variation in that. Once I add some weathering to that and some black wash, it's gonna really pop and give me the look I'm looking for. I have some issues, especially on these cowlings. I think I'm just gonna fill that with white glue and then touch it up by brush. And then I still have, like I said, a lot of weathering, and I'm gonna do exhaust staining and oil staining and everything else underneath these wings here to really dirty it up. And then the gear all has to get mounted in, so you can see where, right, the landing gear. Oh, and there's still a geared door that has to get mounted to that, and then the wheel. So it's gonna be, it's gonna get busy. And like I said, I'm gonna have to play with the weathering in here a little bit because of the changes. But yeah, it's gonna look good when it's all done. So, but yeah, lots of work to go on this still, lots of cleanup, weathering, playing around, all that fun stuff. I think there's a strut that goes in there as well. I'm gonna paint the landing gear aluminum. I think it probably should have been white, but I want the contrasting colors. So anyways, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But yeah, I jumped ahead with the white, I apologize. But it's gonna look good. Now that you can see a coat of white, You can start to see when it kind of blends and it all comes together. These, I'm probably gonna brush paint the exhaust, the turbochargers, and then yeah, we'll see. I don't know yet. I haven't gotten that far, but that's the main part of that. As I said, I have a lot of little things here all ready to go. As you've seen at the video, we've got all the wood grain has started. This is the one I just did on the live stream. So it's still drying. The other two are done. So I'll have to get these built up, and these will get mounted up inside. I believe it's the rear. The rear one held the torpedo, so that'll get mounted up inside there. I'll have to turn that so that the little damaged side isn't seen. But you can see how that wood grain is really gonna pop when you look up inside the bomb bay. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I got that ready to go. I still have to work on these struts once it's all painted. Trim these down, follow the book of reference I have, and get these glued in place in the right spot. So get that sorted out. But yeah, anyways, this is gonna be the end of part one. Part two, once part two is out, should be a few months after this video releases. There'll be a link down in the description. You can jump to part two. If I remember, I'll put a link up above. You can jump to part two. If you don't see either of those links, it means part two isn't out yet. And just take your time, wait a minute, I'll get it done. Usually takes about 3-ish months by the time I finish part one till I get part two finished, but that's all predicated on how much time I spend sitting here. So enough talking. Let's wrap this up. Jump to part two if you want to see the finishing of this. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.